Here's $1 million question that nobody asks. How do rich people stay rich? Because here's the thing, making your first million and keeping your first million are two completely different skill sets. It's like comparing a sprinter to a marathon runner. Same sport, totally different game. And if you looked at the data, and I'm obsessed with data, most lottery winners lose everything within 5 years. 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation, and by the third generation, 90% is gone. So clearly, accumulation and preservation require different playbooks. Today I'm breaking down what I call the Steward's Protocol. 5 habits that separate people who get rich from people who stay rich. And before you click away thinking this doesn't apply to me, stick around, because whether you have $100,000 or $10 million, these principles scale. Let's get into it. Habit number 1, the ace up your sleeve. Pop quiz. What do Berkshire Hathaway, Apple, and Microsoft have in common right now? They're all sitting on massive cash reserves. Berkshire Hathaway, $382 billion in cash. Apple, $55 billion. Microsoft, over $100 billion. Now, you might think, wait, that's stupid. They should invest that money. Cash is trash. Inflation is eating it alive. And you'd be thinking like 99% of people. But here's what they know that most people don't. Cash isn't just an asset, it's optionality. Let me show you the math on this. Let's say you have a $2 million net worth. You're 100% invested because, hey, you're in it for the long haul, right? Timing the market beats timing the market. Then 2022 happens and the market drops 20%. Your 2 million becomes 1.6 million. But here's the kicker. You also see incredible opportunities. Real estate is on sale, quality stocks are discounted, but you can't buy anything because your cash is locked up. Now, compare that to someone with $1.7 million invested and $300,000 in cash. Same starting point, $2 million total. When the market drops 20%, their investments go to $1.36 million. But they have $300,000 ready to deploy at discount prices. Fast forward 3 years, the market recovers and goes up another 20% from their original starting point. Person A, back to $2 million, zero net gain over 3 years. Person B, their original $1.36 million grows to about $1.63 million. Plus, they bought $300,000 worth of assets at a 20% discount, which are now worth about $432,000. The total amount? Over $2 million. They made money during the crash. This is why wealthy people call what I call a war chest. Here's the rule of thumb. If your net worth is under $500,000, keep 3 to 6 months of your expenses liquid. $500,000 to $2 million, keep 10 to 15% in cash equivalents. Over $2 million, keep 15 to 20% liquid. And I'm not talking about money market funds earning 0.1%. I'm talking about high yield savings accounts, treasury bills, or money market funds that are currently yielding 4%. That $300,000 at 4%, that's $12,000 a year. That's not nothing. The habit here is simple. Check your liquidity dashboard once a week. Ask yourself, if an incredible opportunity showed up tomorrow, could I act on it? If the answer is no, you're not optimized, you're over-optimized. You don't chase opportunity, you wait for it, and when it comes, you're ready. Habit 2. The silent partner. Okay, this is where it gets spicy. Let me introduce you to the most expensive business partner, Uncle Sam. Every single investment move you make, he's taking a cut. And here's the crazy part. Most people are voluntarily giving him a bigger cut than they need to. Let me show you an example that will blow your mind. Imagine you have $500,000 to invest. You're deciding between 2 scenarios. Scenario A, you put it in a taxable brokerage account in dividend-paying stocks yielding 3%. Scenario B, you strategically place those same investments across 3 different account types: taxable, traditional IRA, and Roth IRA. Let's run the numbers over 30 years, assuming an 8% annual return. Scenario A, that 3% dividend gets taxed every single year at, let's say, 24% federal plus your state taxes. You're losing roughly 1% per year to taxes on those dividends alone. When you eventually sell, You pay long-term capital gains on the growth. Your $500,000 becomes approximately $3.2 million after taxes. Scenario B, dividend stocks go into your traditional IRA, tax deferred. Higher growth stocks go into your Roth, tax-free growth. Index funds go into your taxable account for tax loss harvesting flexibility. Same $500,000 becomes approximately $4.5 million after tax. That's a $1.3 million difference. Same investments, same returns, just different locations. This is what I called asset location, and it's different from asset allocation. Here's the cheat sheet. Taxable brokerage accounts, use index funds because they're tax efficient. You might use municipal bonds if you're in a high tax bracket. Stocks you plan to hold long term for capital gains treatments. Again, you put them in your taxable account. Traditional IRAs or 401ks, they're treated as tax deferred. You may want to include bonds that are taxed as ordinary income anyway. Maybe some REITs that have high dividend yields. And maybe some actively managed funds because they have lots of turnover. In a Roth IRA, they grow tax-free. Your highest growth potential investments, you put them in there. Maybe small cap stocks, maybe international stocks, anything you expect to 10x. The habit, every time you're about to invest money, ask yourself one question. Which account should this live in to minimize taxes? Not just, should I buy this, but where should I buy this? This one habit alone could be worth millions over your lifetime. And here's the thing, most people think about taxes once a year. Wealthy stewards, they think about it with every move. Not in a fearful way, in a strategic way. Because if you earn 8% but lose 3% to taxes, that's a net 5% return. Over 30 years, 2 million becomes 8.6 million instead of 20 million. The IRS is the silent partner sitting at your table. And the question is, are you giving them a bigger cut than necessary? Habit 3, the moat. Let me tell you a terrifying statistic. In America, there are over 40 million lawsuits filed every year. That's one lawsuit per every 8 people. And here's what's wild. The more successful you become, the bigger the target on your back. You know what I see all the time? People with $5 million of net worth and $100,000 of auto insurance policies. That's like building a mansion and using a $20 padlock on the front door. Imagine building a $10 million castle and leaving the drawbridge down. Let me break down the 3 layers of protection every wealth builder needs. Layer 1, umbrella insurance. This is the easiest and cheapest layer. For about $400 to $600 per year, you can get $2 to $5 million of additional liability coverage. Let's put that into perspective. You're spending less than $2 per day to protect millions of dollars. That's cheaper than your daily coffee. Layer 2, entity structuring. If you own rental properties or run a business, you need LLCs, not one, multiple. Here's why. Let's say you own 3 rental properties all in one LLC. Someone slips and falls at property A, they sue. Now all 3 properties are at risk. But if each property is in its own LLC, the lawsuit can only touch that one property. It's compartmentalization, like bulkheads in a ship. Layer 3, digital security. This is the one no one talks about. Your wealth isn't just in banks anymore, it's accessible through screens. 83% of Americans have become victims of cybercrimes, and the average cost, $15,000 per incident. Here's your minimum digital security checklist. Use a password manager like LastPass. Have 2-factor authentication on everything financial. Monitor the dark web for your personal information. Use different email addresses for different uses. And do regular credit monitoring. The habit here isn't actually daily, it's weekly. Every Sunday, do a 15-minute moat check. Review any unusual account activity. Check for any unfamiliar logins or devices. Update any weak passwords. Protection isn't sexy. Nobody makes YouTube videos titled, "Watch me update my password." But you know what's even less sexy? Losing everything because you didn't spend 15 minutes a week on defense. The risk isn't in what you invest, it's in what you overlook. You're not trying to eliminate risk, just make yourself a harder target. Habit 4, the stagecoach. Here's something that takes people way too long to learn. At a certain point, being smart with money isn't about how much you know. It's about how well your team works together. And I'm not talking about having a financial advisor, a CPA, and an estate planning attorney. I'm talking about making sure they're all reading from the same playbook. Let me give you a real example of what happens when they don't. Your estate attorney creates a beautiful trust structure, very sophisticated. It's going to save your family hundreds of thousands in taxes. But your financial advisor never funds it properly. The assets stay in your personal name. When you pass away, that trust is useless. It's like buying a safe and leaving everything on your kitchen counter. Or here's another one. Your CPA recommends maxing out your 401k contributions because you're in the 37% tax bracket. But your financial advisor has you on track for massive RMDs, required minimum distributions, in retirement that will push you in even higher brackets. Nobody's wrong, but no one's coordinating. Here's what a coordinated team looks like. Your advisor recommends a Roth conversion strategy. Your CPA models the tax impact and timing. Your estate attorney adjusts your trust to maximize the benefit. One strategy, 3 professionals working together. Early on, you did it all. Researched the stocks, filed taxes, built spreadsheets. But as wealth grows, the DIY mindset becomes expensive. Think about it. If you have a $5 million net worth and you miss a tax strategy worth $50,000, that's a 1% hit, real money. Now, I know you're thinking, I can't afford a whole team. I'm not a millionaire. Well, here's the truth. You don't need a full team until you have about $500,000 in investable assets. Before that, you can probably DIY most of it with good software and education. But once you cross that threshold, the math changes. Let's say you have $1 million invested. A 1% improvement in after-tax returns, just 1%, is $10,000 per year. If a coordinated team costs you $5,000 per year, but gets you that 1% improvement, they're literally paying for themselves. The wealth steward shifts from how to who. Not just, do I have a CPA and an advisor, but are they working as a team? If the estate planning attorney builds a trust, the advisor never funds, or if the CPA isn't aware of Roth conversion plans, that's friction, and friction destroys compounding. The habit here is actually a quarterly habit. Every quarter, schedule a 30-minute call with your CPA, advisor, and attorney, if applicable, and all are on the same phone call. Not separate meetings, one meeting. And the agenda? Ask what's changed, what's coming, and how do we optimize for it? That's it. 4 calls per year could save you tens of thousands. Your job is no longer to be a technician. Your job is to be the conductor. Habit 5, the prestige. Okay, last one. And this one might be the most important. There's a sobering statistic from the Williams Group. 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the 2nd generation. 90% lose it by the 3rd. Why? It's not bad investments. It's not market crashes. It's lack of preparation. You know what the number 1 cause for wealth destruction is across generations? Family conflict. Not taxes, not bad returns, conflict. And here's why that happens. People spend decades building wealth and 0 time preparing their heirs for it. It's like training for a marathon your whole life and then handing the baton to someone who's never run before. In magic, the prestige is the final act, the moment that defines the entire show. In wealth, the prestige isn't your net worth, it's what happens after you're gone. Let me be clear, I'm not talking about spoiling your kids or giving them everything. I'm talking about educating them. Here's what that looks like practically. Let's say ages 6 to 12, you want to talk about basic money concepts. Allowances tied to chores, maybe saving jars, spending jars, giving jars. Let them make small purchasing decisions. From ages 13 to 18, talk about financial literacy. Open a custodial investment account together. Teach them to read a statement. Let them pick one stock and explain why they chose it. Show them your credit card bill and how interest works. And then from 18 on, use advanced concepts. Share your estate plan in broad terms. Explain why you're leaving money to certain causes. Involve them in family giving decisions. Have them sit in your financial advisor meeting. And here's the kicker. The conversation isn't just about money, it's about values. Why do we give to this charity? Why did we choose to invest this way? What do we believe about debt, about risk, about generosity? Because when you die, And I hate to break it to you, but you will. You're not leaving them money. You're leaving them a choice about what to do with that money. And if you've never thought about it, if they've never been prepared, they're going to make emotional decisions, impulsive decisions, conflicting decisions. The habit here is simple. Once a week, have one money conversation with your family. Not a lecture, a conversation. Say something like, hey, want to see something cool? This stock we bought together is up 15%. Want to help me decide which charity we donate to this year? Small moments, consistent repetition. You're not preparing the money for your kids. You're preparing your kids for the money. Connect money with meaning, not in a lecture, in real small moments. All right, let's bring it home. If you're watching this video, you're probably past the accumulation phase. You've already won the game most people never get to play. So the question isn't, how do I make more? It's, how do I keep what I've made? How do I design my life like a steward, not just an accumulator? Here's your 5-habit protocol. Number 1, the ace up your sleeve. Keep 15 to 20% liquid for opportunities. Number 2, the silent partner. Optimize where you hold investments. Number 3, build the moat. Build defense before optimizing offense. Habit 4, the stage crew. Get your team coordinating. And habit 5, the prestige. Prepare the next generation. None of this is flashy. None of this gets clicks. None of this goes viral. And that's exactly why it works. The loudest investors are usually broke in 10 years. The quiet ones, they're building generational wealth. If you found this valuable, smash that like button. It helps the algorithm show this to more people who need it. And if you want to go deeper on any of these topics, let's have a conversation. But even if you never reach out, I hope this video gave you something more valuable than tactics. It gave you a lens, a framework. Because when you look at your accounts next time, don't just see numbers, see a castle. And now you have a protocol to protect it. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and stay successful.